As the sun dipped below the Paris skyline on that Sunday evening, the Louvre's final visitors drifted toward the exits. Just before the Grand Museum closed its doors, a man slipped inside wearing the official white uniform of a Louvre employee. To the casual eye, he was just another worker finishing a shift. But in reality, he was Vincenzo Peruggia, an Italian handyman who knew the museum inside out. With quiet confidence, he walked the marble halls until he found a small supply closet. He squeezed himself inside, closed the door, and waited patiently through the long, hot night. The next day, Monday, was a strategic choice. The Louvre was closed to the public, so only a handful of staff were inside. At exactly 7:15 in the morning, Peruggia crept out of the closet into an empty corridor. No guards, no tourists. The salon, where the Mona Lisa hung at the time, was deserted. Back then, the Mona Lisa wasn't nearly as famous as it is today. It didn't even have its own special room. It hung modestly among other Renaissance works. But Peruggia's bold plan would forever change its fate. Quietly, he lifted the portrait off its metal pegs, carried it into a stairwell, and pulled out a simple screwdriver. With careful hands, he dismantled the protective glass and frame. Glass he himself had once helped build during his days as a Louvre worker. He wrapped the priceless painting in a plain white cloth, tucked it under his arm, and made his way to the exit. His heart must have pounded as he reached for the door, but it was locked. In that tense moment, fate intervened. A Louvre plumber appeared. Seeing Peruggia in the official uniform, he didn't think twice. He kindly unlocked the door and held it open. Moments later, the most famous painting in the world was carried out of the world's most secure museum in broad daylight. Incredibly, it took more than a full day for anyone to notice the theft. That week, photographers had been moving paintings for cataloging, so a blank space on the wall raised no alarm. Only when they arrived the next morning without the Mona Lisa did the staff realize the masterpiece had vanished. Panic swept through Paris. The police were called. Detectives swarmed the museum, searching every corner for clues. France shut its borders, terrified the painting might be smuggled abroad. Rumors spread like wildfire. One wild tale claimed tanks were stationed outside the Louvre to protect what was left. The only evidence left behind was the empty wooden frame and a single fingerprint on the glass. Desperate for answers, newspapers offered a staggering $250,000 reward to anyone who could help recover the missing treasure. The reward sparked an avalanche of tips. Thousands wrote letters or showed up at police stations claiming to know where the painting was. Some insisted it was on a train racing through Belgium. Others swore it was already sailing for America. Two different witnesses even described seeing a man leaving the museum with a bulky package, but their descriptions didn't match. Soon, suspicion fell on unexpected names. A secretary confessed that Pablo Picasso, the rising star of the modern art world, had once bought stolen Iberian statues taken from the Louvre. Police traced the statues, confirmed they were genuine, and arrested Picasso for questioning. Although he was quickly cleared of any involvement in the theft, the scandal only deepened the mystery. Next came whispers about American banker and legendary art collector J.P. Morgan. Rumors claimed he had paid for the heist to secure the Mona Lisa for his private collection. Police even searched a ship docking in New York, but found nothing. Years passed. The trail went cold. No one imagined that the world's most famous painting was hidden just 2 miles from the Louvre the entire time. Vincenzo Peruggia had taken the Mona Lisa to his tiny apartment in Paris. He hid the masterpiece in a trunk with a false spotter. Ironically, Peruggia's fingerprints were in the police system because of a previous minor crime, but they only had his right-hand prints. The thief had left a print from his left hand on the frame, so no match was ever made. Twice, detectives even visited Peruggia's apartment, but never found the hidden painting. For 2 years, he kept the Mona Lisa under his bed, waiting for the right moment to cash in on his crime. In the end, his patience ran out. In 1930, Peruggia wrote an anonymous letter to an art dealer in Florence, the city where Da Vinci had painted the portrait centuries earlier. He claimed he wanted to return the painting to its rightful home in Italy. When the dealer and an expert arrived at his hotel room to see the painting, they were stunned. It really was the Mona Lisa. They convinced Peruggia to let them authenticate it in their studio. But within the hour, police knocked at his door. The heist was over. Peruggia served just 7 months in prison and died a decade later. But the story didn't end there. In 1932, a journalist claimed an even grander plan had been behind the theft. According to Carl Decker, An Argentine con man named Eduardo de Valfiano had masterminded the heist. He had hired Perugia to steal the real painting, then sold 6 expertly painted forgeries to wealthy collectors in America, each believing they owned the real Mona Lisa. By the time news of the theft made headlines, the fakes were long gone. De Valfiano disappeared with a fortune worth millions today.